Greetings everybody. You'll know me if you're familiar with my usual bookish videos, but this is my brother Mikey, who, if you've watched any of our gaming stuff, then you might recognise his voice when he starts talking. He's very sensible. And the purpose of this video today, and you'll notice we have notes. So you might remember a little while ago I made a video, a rant some might say, including me because that was the title, about Alien Covenant, and listing my many reasons that I absolutely would never, under any circumstance, watch Alien Romulus. So anyway, we went to see Alien Romulus, but it is your fault because I was bombarded. Bombarded, I tell you, with hundreds and thousands of demands to go and see Alien Romulus. And also, I've been told that I'm hateful and bad-tempered and
it was me, I posted all those.
unaccepting, and I don't like anything, and I just want to dislike films, and I want to rant about things and be unhappy.
Yeah.
I'd like to say, nay, that's not true. I prefer to like things, and for that reason, I won't be criticising this film. I will merely be stating things that happened, factual things, and maybe asking some questions.
I'm not mad, I'm just asking questions.
Okay, let's see. Hello. Oh, this is not spoiler free. We're old, we need notes. This is not by any means spoiler free, okay? I can't stress that enough. This isn't really for
brief synopsis.
Wait. So we watched film, yeah, did that.
Let's talk about what the film was.
Okay,
what happened in the film, Kale?
So
what happened?
It's about a lady, we don't remember any character names, sorry, but our protagonist, who has a synthetic brother called Andy.
Rain?
Rain? Let's go with Rain. Rain has...
It's been weeks.
Months.
I haven't watched it for a while.
The protagonist has an android brother called Andy. They live on a planet owned and run by Weyland Yutani?
Well done, Alien fan.
Finally remembered. And it's basically an indentured servitude type of setup. She's never seen the sun. She's got dreams of leaving. She doesn't have any other family, and Andy's the only one she has left. She has a group of friends. A Weyland Corp ship enters the atmosphere. It's abandoned. And our protagonist friends decide that they want to go up to the ship, steal the cryopods that they somehow know are on it, so that they can take the cryopods so they can travel far enough away, because they do have some air travel, some space travel, but nothing that would actually free them from this planet, if that makes sense.
Which I assume is the only security measure that they have.
Yeah, we'll go into that in just a sec. So they go up to the ship, which actually turns out to be a space station, not just a rogue ship. They need Andy to get on board because they don't have security clearance without him, but he's the same model android that could get onto the ship. That's going to be important in a minute. They end up on the ship. It's full of face huggers basically. Weyland has got this whole station set up for experimenting and researching xenomorphs and face huggers. Inevitably it went wrong for that original crew of people. They're all dead, and there are face huggers and xenomorphs aboard, and then your typical sort of alien sets process. Die, dead. Lone lady survivor.
There was something in the water.
There's something in the water. So that's like basically the whole film sort of like wrapped up. So I'm not saying I had a problem, but here's my question. Mikey can elaborate. Okay, I'm being positive.
To start every criticism with like, I don't have a problem
it's not
with
a
it.
criticism, but here's my question, okay? So a Weyland ship comes into orbit. Weyland don't intercept it?
So this was the part of the opening setup that completely lost me straight away. Not that I'm saying there's no explanation for it, but I shouldn't be 15 minutes into the film not paying attention to the film now because I'm too busy scratching my head being like, but why doesn't Weyland care? Why is not only do they not seem to want to send anyone up to salvage anything or see what's gone wrong or stop it crashing into their planet, because
Or the sun or something.
yeah, I mean you can crash into the sun. That's fine. You just
Or the rings.
yeah,
Yeah,
but,
something like that.
But not only that, but like they don't seem to have any problem with people leaving the planet to go visit it, which is something. Do they not monitor their airspace at all?
See, that was a question I had, because
Yeah, this is. I'm asking a question.
yeah, Mikey can criticize, but I'm just asking questions.
I'm not criticizing. I'm just asking questions.
So we're just asking questions here, guys, okay? And
I was very confused though.
we did see this a while ago, so if there are in-film explanations for anything we're saying, please tell us in the comments. We're talking about stuff that is established in the film, though, and not like that you've speculated is the answer, because
This is my theory.
we care about the truth, okay?
I mean, you shouldn't have to theory craft to fill the hole.
Yeah, that's what we mean. If we're asking questions and there actually was an answer in the film for this, a definitive answer, please let us know, because it would make us feel better. So the reason that they have access to a ship is because one of the characters is a pilot, so presumably you can fill in the gaps on that her work for the planet is probably she goes into space or picks up like cargo and things like that, things like of that nature.
Rocks.
So we didn't. I don't have any issues, but if I did have an issue, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be that they have a ship in the first place that they could go into space to. It's just that it was.
It's so weird. It's not like a personal ship. It's like a work ship.
Yeah, but they parked in their backyard basically.
Like if you worked at a warehouse and you drove a forklift, but you didn't put the forklift away at the warehouse. You took it home and left it in your backyard.
And
then you just took it for a joyride
with your friends.
With no like.
And if anyone can go on it.
I feel like that wouldn't be allowed. Allowed to just have a ship that you are allowed to just take off and go visit a crashing space station owned by Weyland-Yutani, who Weyland-Yutani don't seem to give a shit about.
Yeah, and my other question was, I think that it is said in the film that this particular space station, it was like what they were doing on it was like a big secret. So maybe only one sort of sector of the corporation like knows that this is going on.
Whether they knew or not, it's a crashing piece of their.
It's still their property.
Yeah, it's their baby, and it's falling, and no one's even gone up to have a look.
And they've firmly established how much they care about their profit margins on account of the fact that the first 20 minutes of the film is setting up that everyone is kind of enslaved to the corporation. They don't want to let their labour force go and all of this. So
I mean that falling space station had a substantial dollar value attached to it.
yeah, so that was my question anyway.
Yeah.
And then okay, so they go up into space with no problems, no one stops them, and that's fine. I was curious about that, but whatever. And this is gonna. I'm only bringing this up now because this is gonna come back round as a thing later. But our main character, our protagonist, has it. They verbally tell you that she's never been in space before. She's never seen the sun. She's never been on a ship. Okay, she works in the mines. That's her job. She works as so I just want to establish now that she doesn't work as an engineer of any kind or with technology per se. This will
come up on the test later.
It's going to come up on the test later. Ship appears, Weyland does nothing. Next note, easily ejectable cryopods, needs batteries.
Yeah, I mean, so they get to the ship. They have to use what's the androids?
Andy
the android.
Yeah.
What do they call? They call them synthetics. So
yeah.
It doesn't work. But they use him as like a card reader to get in. So they just slam his head into the console, and then the door beeps open. That's how they use him.
That's a true story.
That's a true story. Watch the film. It happened. And they have to crawl through a really pain in the ass duct system to get through. But then they come out and they find. Almost immediately, they're straight into the room that has the cryo.
I think that they had some sort of detection thing for the.
Yeah. But I think Oh no! I'm not poo-pooing the idea that they would find it by accident. I just mean that I'm not missing anything, right? Yeah. And they're depleted of battery, which is. I mean, not impossible, but I also find, as a bit of world building, I find that confusing because they're not running right now. They don't have people in them.
There's no one in them, and it was a space station.
And these things are designed to run for decades.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Ripley's one is just active for... I mean, I assume it would have been indefinite.
Yeah, because
Right.
she does float around
She
for
was in it for
decades.
60 years?
Yeah,
57 years, I think it is.
Yeah.
So these pods aren't being used and they're low on battery?
Yeah, which propels the cast into the rest of the story, because they can't just take the pods and go, because now they've got to go and find power source, so they've got to go into the rest of the ship, which opens up the rest of the story.
Like, not impossible, like, but it makes me ask the question, I'm like, wait, these things need batteries and they run out quite quickly.
And that is admittedly maybe a minor gripe.
I'm
not griping, I just questioned it, but my other question was...
the film doesn't suck because the cryopods need batteries, but...
My main question about the cryopods is
yeah.
that they find them and they need to get the cryopods onto their little ship, their very tiny by comparison ship, and they just sort of press a button and it just ejects the cryopods out.
I wouldn't sleep in one of those if it was hooked up to the ejection system. It was like one button, wasn't it?
Yeah, one button and they're gone. And
one co-worker that doesn't really like you and just kind of leans on the panel and says, whoops!
Or like an electrical malfunction or something.
Yeah, or the battery runs out.
Yeah.
The battery on the clamp.
So I'm not complaining or anything, it's just a question I had about why would the cryopods be situated...
We're going to do this every time.
So that they could just be zoomed out.
For a second, right before this happens as well, because before we went to see this film, we were told, it's quite reminiscent of Alien Isolation.
Yeah.
And
the game.
Yeah, and we talk a bit more about that later. I know it's in the notes, but specifically I bring it up now because actually the game that this reminded me of more, at least in this beginning, is Dead Space of all things, because the approach up to this dead station.
Yeah.
And going in and finding things broken and like the gravity system switching on and off looked like a video game mechanic, and it reminded me of Dead Space.
Yeah,
approaching the Ishimura.
So the gravity thing, they go in and this room has zero gravity, and they have to like switch it back on. But they establish that because the space station was sort of like fell into disuse, the system, it like purges the gravity every so often.
Yeah, and it was really cool.
It was really cool. But it happened twice in that scene and then not again until the last act. But
that's not even. We will get there, but like, that's not even the same thing, because when it happens in the last act, it's manually activated. But this idea of the gravity like being in flux and like it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off, and someone gets injured because they were like. Floating around at the top of the room, messing around, and then the gravity turned on, and then they dropped.
Floating around at the top of the room, even though they
already knew that the gravity was going to... Yeah, but...
I'm not complaining, I'm just saying that was an odd decision for that character to make.
When they established that, I was like, wow, that's a really cool idea. Yeah. I can't wait for this to be used throughout the film. It doesn't happen again. The gravity is turned off manually later, but that's not the same thing as the gravity being in flux and turning off at random intervals.
I think they just put it there just to establish that the gravity can go off for this part later.
I suppose, but I think they didn't realise how cool a concept they were setting up, and they were just not using it.
I'm not saying it was a good use, and I'm not complaining, so I'm also not saying it was a bad use.
Oh, this problem with that scene later, there's not really anything to do with the gravity, but... Yeah, but I wanted to bring that up because it's in the same scene.
Yeah.
It's in the same room with the pods. Okay. So that was a really cool idea. Just wish they'd used it more.
Next note. So, stuff goes awry and the girls have to now get on the ship to help the boys. And they do so quite easily. And my question was how? Because they needed Andy to get on. The doors are closed behind them. Yeah, Andy's the one with the clearance to get through the doors. So once the doors are shut, you need Andy to get back through them. And that's not something I'm misremembering, because I do remember them needing Andy to go back through rooms later on. So it's not like...
They needed him to open every door, basically, that's shut. There's like a character that desperately needs a door opened, and
so
he needs to do it.
It's not like because Andy's now on board and already opened a door, now everything's accessible to everyone. Andy is the key the entire time, so
slam his face into the control panel every single time you want to open a door.
I'm not angrily pointing this out as a plot hole or anything, but I am curious about how the girls got on board.
But it is really as like straightforward as maybe there's an answer, but like the first team kind of go on with him. They open a door and they have to go through the potch of going through a crawl space to get to where they need to go.
Yeah.
And then they cut, and the girls are coming on, and it's like, right, we're on.
Yeah.
And they didn't need Andy, and they didn't need to go through the crawl space.
And
I was unclear as to why it was. And it happens again later.
Yeah, there's
someone else needs to get in through a different entrance, and it's just fine. It's weird.
That one was a little more confusing because yes, later on in the film there was a girl that hung back on the pod they went up in, their original little pod, and she somehow ends up. I can't quite remember how it happens, but I think it's Xenomorph related. But she ends up like crashing the pod all around the side of the space station. Happens to magically land in a docking area, and then she's on board the station too.
She crashed
into
comfortably into the exact other spot in the ship she needed to.
No, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that happened, and I was a bit confused about that. So the next
totally could happen. But was a little convenient. And I know the answer. A lot of people watching this will just be, "Who cares? Turn your brain off and watch the Alien film."
No.
But we just can't, and we're sorry. These little things, they happen. We notice them in the film, and then I stop enjoying the film because I'm like, wait, what? How? Wait, what? And I'm wondering if I missed something. And then
actually would like to throw off our whole thing right now because we've got an order. Guys. Okay, yeah. But I would like to say this. There's a sentiment that is often spoken when you're talking about a sequel or a remake of something like Alien, where every time I talk to someone and they're like, oh, I really liked it, and I don't try to crap on things and ruin other people's enjoyment if I didn't like a thing, right? I'll just say, oh, I didn't really like it, and if they like seem to want to converse about it, then I'll give my reasons, but I won't like try and shout down someone else's reasons for liking a thing. I wish that I could just like stuff, guys. I'd enjoy a lot more things, but I care.
You wish you could just not have to ask questions about things.
Yeah, but I really care about storytelling. I really care about storytelling. I care about in-world rules being followed. I can suspend my disbelief all day long. I like zombie fiction, but if you're breaking the rules of the world you set, I notice it. And the sentiment I wanted to say is when people go, oh, but you can't expect it to be as good as the original. And I used to say, no, I wouldn't expect anything to be as good as Alien. But also, this is a question. Why? Why can't I expect something as good as Alien? There's no reason. There is no good reason why our standards have to automatically be lower just because the first one was great. Because Aliens is arguably the better film, which was the sequel to Aliens. That smashed it. And remakes. The Thing remake with Jeff Goldblum. That's the better version. The John Carpenter's The Thing is a remake.
Did you say The Thing remake? You mean The Fly?
The Fly remake. John Carpenter's The Thing. That's the better version. So I'm not like just automatically like, well, things aren't as good as the original. I want to go in and love The Thing, but I don't agree with the statement. Oh well, it's never going to be as good as The Thing, because it's like, well, that's down to caring about storytelling for me. And I know there are other elements like this. Alien was a perfect storm of things, but. Is that husband or cat? Saw me a husband go by. Let's get back on track. The next question I wrote down was, how come there's a line of ash when Ash was...
A line of ash?
So, wait, that sounds a bit weird. So...
Well, hang on. Before we do that, can we at least address the fact that he's in this film and how horrifically haunting he is to even just look at?
They CGI'd Ian home as one of the many obnoxious callbacks to the original franchise, and he's like ripped in half, kind of like Bishop. It's just his top half. They plug him in and he tells them what happened to the crew on the station, and it's horribly CGI'd because obviously they couldn't get Ian home.
But he looks worse than Peter Cushing in Rogue One, and that was 8 years ago.
It was really distracting.
He had like little small beady eyes, and he looked angry. He looked like a little angry doll version, like a little toy.
Yeah, and it was so bad. It was impossible to not focus on how bad it looked.
I literally wasn't listening to half of his dialogue because I was just staring at his face like, what the fuck are you? Sorry.
From a storytelling perspective, I'm gonna have to abandon not criticizing it. No. From a storytelling let me phrase it like this. A storytelling perspective, why did they insist on having an Ash android? And this is right, outside of just obnoxious fan service, like, oh look, this is from
You mentioned this well after you realised it.
So it was a surprise in Alien that Ash was an android. He wasn't recognisable as a line of androids like Bishop, like the Bishop model. He was kind of like covert and he had his own directives, so he stealthed his way into the crew. So if there was a line,
wouldn't any of the original crew recognized him?
Yeah, so that was weird. And then the other thing that occurred to me, which potentially ruins some original film timeline stuff, is how come no one believed Ripley in Aliens despite having full knowledge of everything she's talking about in Romulus? Like Wayland Corp specifically.
Yeah,
Nothing's happening.
Nothing happened.
Yeah, so the whole thing in Aliens is that they don't believe her, and in fact she's in trouble for damaging property and all of this shit.
I mean, you can, now that all those scenes kind of take on a different feeling of they're all lying to her face and they all know it. But why would they bother putting on this charade for everybody?
Yeah, if they
when everyone in the room is in on it?
Yeah, they've had a full space station in between Alien and Aliens. Oh. Because...
What have you got questions about now?
No, it's not. Alright, my question is... I forgot as well when we were talking. I probably further in the notes, but so the reason that there's like a little sort of like prologue scene that opens this whole film where they collect the original xenomorph from Alien in space from the debris of the Nostromo, and that's how they end up like knowing about it. And
what debris? The thing was nuked from the inside in space. And those little there's no wind resistance in space. All those little pieces of the Nostromo that blew up are all flying in every possible direction at the speed of a nuke, and they won't stop. So how is there possibly... The only time there would have been a cluster of Nostromo wreckage would have been the first millisecond of the explosion. After that, it's just dust.
And here's my question, related. How was it that the xenomorph was in the Nostromo debris, even if you can accept that the Nostromo had a field of debris like an asteroid belt?
She was long gone from the Nostromo.
Because the xenomorph wasn't blown up with the Nostromo, it was ejected from Ripley's escape pod, which was miles away from the exploded Nostromo by that point.
She ejected it out of the ass end of her escape pod, and it went straight to where the debris used to be, and then instead of continuing on, because an object in space will keep moving unless something stops it, but it decided to stop itself and come to rest at the debris field.
Yeah, so that was my question, because...
This is very strange.
Once again, I'm not being hateful. It's just that I tend to get... So the reason... Okay, we're switching to hate just for this moment. Okay. Because the reason that I openly hated... Yeah.
Let the hate flow.
The reason that I hated Covenant so much was because it messed with the mechanics of the original films. It ruined things in the timeline. It created... I can't hear myself. It created plot holes in Alien and Aliens. That's why I can't stand sequels or prequels that like mess with the fabric of the original like that. So I've lost my train of thought.
You're so angry.
So yeah, things like they just pluck the original xenomorph out of the Nostromo debris when it's not possible, and it also messes up elements of like the plot in Aliens.
It's just very improbable. The original xenomorph. What? I was thinking that what was the timeline of events that occurred on the ship that led to it getting overrun? Because they had time during all of this chaos to study the facehuggers and put them in test tubes and have entire labs full, and yet they didn't. It's been a while since we watched it, but didn't the Ash copy say that it was the original xenomorph that they brought on that was
That
the
killed
one
everyone.
that killed everyone?
Yeah, I think that we're supposed to infer that they had the eggs first and then they went into space and found the xenomorph, but I don't.
Where did they get the eggs?
I don't know.
And no, it wasn't LV-426 because they didn't know about that until they got the statement from Ripley after they woke her up. Because that was the plot of Aliens.
Yeah. There's a scene that they set up where, right, so first of all, there are thousands of facehuggers. I'm not complaining, I'm just asking why, when they so effectively just used one facehugger in Aliens, and that scene with Newton Ripley was really tense and scary, but whenever they do like a soft reboot or a sequel for something like this, they just say,
throwing more.
They just go, I'll do the thing again, but add loads of them.
I mean, I guess the entire appeal of Aliens was, hey, one xenomorph was scary, let's do 1 billion.
Yeah,
but the facehuggers are a bit overkill because those things are insane.
They were sprinting all over, but then so they realized, so there's a room full of facehuggers and they need to get through this room. It's the only path through, right? And they realize that the facehuggers are heat seeking. They don't have eyes, so they identify people with body temperature. So they decide to raise the temperature in the room the facehuggers are all in to body temperature, and then they figure that if they just move through the room slowly, quietly, they can go through undetected. And they make a big to-do about this. But I did have a question, because the facehuggers do also go by sound, and up until this point they've been sprinting around, hunting things, smashing through doors, reacting to any sort of stimulus whatsoever. So they whoosh open these double doors, and not only do the facehuggers not seem bothered by this for the first time, but they're also all hiding.
Yeah, and also I don't think they changed the temperature of the corridor they were in before they went in.
Yeah.
So when they opened the door, there still would have been 3 body. Well, I don't think the synthetic has body temperature, but there would have been 2 silhouettes of nice infrared radiation in a cold corridor before stepping into the room, and they made a lot of noise with the door.
So,
but the biggest problem with that scene isn't really the logic of it. Is that they set up a really I was willing to swallow the premise and just be like, okay, this is kind of dumb, but whatever. Cool, tense, sneak through. It's basically the scene from the end of Tremors 2.
Yeah, or the kitchen
where they
scene
cover Earl in ice and he's got to sneak through. And but they cut away.
And don't show it to us.
Yeah, they set up this really cool, tense stealth section from a video game, and then they cut away the second it starts to get tense to something really loud.
Yeah.
They cut away to something like really, really loud, and I was like, wait, well, what are we doing? And then they cut back, and the scene's almost over.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought, because I was interested. And then we didn't see it. Here's a thing that I know is going to bug you. So there's a point where they use the anti-gravity thing. We're in the final climax almost now. Also, there are thousands of xenomorphs on this ship, by the way, that don't surface until the characters go down to the basement levels where they are. That's that.
I'm totally okay with that, since that's the way it was in Aliens.
But they find themselves in a conundrum. They're locked into this room. There are xenomorphs up the hoo-ha?
The wazoo.
The wazoo. And so to get out of this predicament, our main character turns off the gravity because she magically knows how to operate everything aboard this space station, despite the fact she's never been on a ship, on a space station,
I suppose
in space.
This panel just said gravity off or on. I hope it was that
She has
simple.
been moving through the whole station prior to this, though, just magically knowing how everything works. But I'm not complaining. I just thought that was curious because she's a miner, not like a miner like young person, like works in a mine. And she turns off the gravity, so the xenomorphs will float up, and then she shoots them with a pulse rifle. After being taught in exactly the same manner as Ripley's taught how to use one.
One of
And
many visual callbacks.
yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit. And then, so she shoots them. So now there's all acid blood floating around, and they have to navigate through the acid blood. Now, I actually did think that was a cool idea because that hasn't been done before. I think Mikey has some thoughts on it, though.
Well, when she shoots them, it's almost like some video game shit. The corpses, I swear, this is from memory, but I'm almost certain if we go back and watch it, the corpses despawn, and it's like just a blood splat instead, like an acid splat that she has to navigate through. Now, I'm not entirely sure how liquids work in I'm sure they kind of keep together, like the
the particles.
Like you get bubbles of water, they don't completely disperse. Water kind of has a tendency to stick together, but they splat out so far and then they just kind of stop, right?
Yeah.
And they're just like a floating splat that doesn't move anywhere.
Yeah.
And so she's got like these little parts. She doesn't have to avoid any corpses anymore, and it's just a little bit.
We did wonder if, on account of the force of shooting the aliens into smithereens and the blood splatters out, wouldn't it have kept traveling?
I feel like at least it wouldn't have just stopped. I feel like it would have just kept traveling, but I
sizzled out through the wall of the ship.
Was it the whole point that she didn't want any of the blood to hit the walls, right? Because she didn't want to decompress the ship.
Yeah, that's why
because they were on the edge. That's why she did it. So, is it not absurdly lucky that none of the acid splats just travelled slightly towards a wall? I don't. It just seems a little contrived. I think is the word for it.
Yeah. We had quite a lot of other questions about this, but we are going to have to wrap it up because of time. So I think the last thing that we have to mention is the frankly absurd, obnoxious amount of callbacks and the way they were done. Namely, get away from her, you bitch.
You bitch? It's so ridiculous. It like takes a pause. I thought for a second, okay, that's all right. We get the reference, and it's not. And then in the time it took me to think that, it was a full pause. Then he's like, "You bitch."
Yeah. Oh my god, the freaking references to the originals, like the fan service references that like the original fans are like 40 years old now. You know what I mean? Like 30, 40. Like they and this
the
whole
film is 45.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Old.
So.
Yeah.
So like this is an all new cast. They're all really young as well, which is fine because they were marketing this to 20-year-olds. But these callbacks, I don't even know who they're supposed to be for, because I tell you this, original Alien fans were not like, oh yay, the call, like it was so bad. So
I don't know, maybe some people really liked the
no
Get Away
one
from
liked
Her,
it.
You bitch.
The Get Away from Her, You Bitch, spoken by a character who's just killed a random alien. It's not even a queen, and he sounds confused about why he's saying it. It's so weird.
Yeah, he's like he's reading it in the script. He's like, really?
Forcing Ian home in when there was like, it could have been any android. Like there was no reason for it, and it was weird. Like it
looked so bad.
It was so bad. The protagonist being taught how to use the pulse rifle is exactly the same as the Ripley scene with Hicks. She's at one point running around in her pants. She's wearing exactly the same trainers as Ripley. I don't know if you noticed that.
The Reeboks.
Yeah. She climbs into the spacesuit in the same way.
But like when she does it, it's like freezing. Like it's dropping like -40 or something in the room. Like the door is freezing. The glass is freezing.
Yeah.
And she's got the dexterity to like get into a suit.
There's just so much, like there are so many lines, and like even some scenes that were framed, shot the same way. It wasn't just like a little nod to, and by the way, you don't need a nod to, it's a sequel. It's already of the universe. It was honestly, oh man, I made it so far without getting mad. But it was honestly so bad. It was so like, have another reference, and we're not even going to make them enjoyable for you. They're just going to be annoying as shit.
I'm going to make an outlandish positive comment about the
Go
film,
on.
though, because I think I'm not sure what the general discourse on this film is like, if people liked it or if people liked this, but I thought the final like monster was creepy as shit.
Vampire baby.
Yeah,
We haven't got time to go into it.
I just wanted to mention
Yeah.
that creature was when it first revealed, the camera turns around and it's just in the hallway, like just propping stuff up. There was a guy in our cinema who went, "What the fuck?"
Oh yeah, because actually,
so
I am going to insert a photo of Mikey in the cinema here because I took one because it is empty. We saw this and we were the first 2 people in there, and then only 2 more people came.
Yeah, and one of them when they revealed the monster, I just heard this guy's like, "Tara, what the fuck is that?" And I was right there with him. I was like, "Yeah, that's horrifying."
I guess real quickly, the last comment we got time to make about that is the note that I made, and I'll read it verbatim. When you see it, the baby comes out in a cocoon. Baby cocoon full of acid, but baby no burn.
Yeah, it's a very good cocoon. It was very insulated. All the acid was kept safely inside.
So anyway, to summarise, would you recommend this film to Alien fans specifically?
I don't know. There are some things that some people will like, and I don't know to what level we just overly nitpick and get distracted by things in the film not making sense. I think some people would like it. I reckon you should go see for yourself. I'm more of a, if you like the look of it, good, why not? Even if you don't like it, it's fun to make fun of, so do that. Well, what about you? What would you say?
I didn't hate it as much as Covenant.
There were some good things.
But also, fuck you, Romulus.
Please!